Hey folks, Dean Kavanagh here, co-founder for Tribune, and today I'm going to introduce you to our AI-driven ticket classifier. Just as a quick overview on what this means and why we created it, our ticket classifier will take any IT support ticket created on your help desk, analyze the content of that ticket and make a prediction on the issue and sub-issue types. Most importantly, it will use your issue and sub-issue type labels. We've done this to make it very easy to adopt and to start using as soon as your AI model is ready. The question that often comes up is how does it work? We've created a system of automation that will extract your ticket history as well as your issue and sub-issue labels, and from that data automatically create a new classification model specific to your help desk. Using your terminology, your labels, and anything industry specific in your MSP, it will all go into the mix and be able to predict for. The model itself is private to you, and the ticket data that we extract is not kept once the model has been successfully generated. There's a few things to keep in mind when it comes to anything AI related. First and foremost is the training data. Good training data gets better results, but it's not about quantity as much with our design. We have been very focused on being able to create an accurate AI model with smaller training data sets. It used to be expected that you needed hundreds of thousands of records to create something decent. Well, we've designed this to be accurate with records in the thousands only. Of course, the more records we can get, we'll take, but it doesn't take long before that accuracy only improves by fractions of a percent. In the past, this would have been a project that you might have wanted to undertake yourselves. It could have taken anywhere from 3 to 6 months to curate and create. We're doing this in hours. So why is this important? Why would you want to leverage this in the first place? Think about the triage steps in your help desk, but think about it in full. When a ticket comes in, the first thing a person does is review the content and make a decision on what it's about and where it needs to go. If you've been in the industry for a while, this feels automatic to you, and you probably don't even give it a second thought. But it does take time. It requires a person to make that assessment and action something on the ticket before it can move on. Depending on the size of your help desk, you might even have dedicated staff to this triage role. For the smaller teams, it's probably shared between them, and it's also one of the most distracting parts of their day. So with that in mind, imagine not having to make that decision at all when a ticket comes in. The ticket arrives, an issue and a sub-issue is automatically predicted and assigned to that ticket within seconds. Then based on your own rules, those tickets are either closed because it's rubbish, spam, newsletter, or something that just doesn't need to be a support ticket. Maybe it's voice or ISP related and you've got a dedicated team for that or a dedicated staff member. So it gets routed over to them and assigned. Is it a security issue? You could set the priority to the highest level possible, send a notification to key staff related to that, and basically get the ticket moving to the right team, the right people, and the right notifications when they need to happen. Or maybe it's a little more process driven, a new user request. Should that have even been emailed in as a ticket? Maybe they should be filling out a form you've created in a customer portal so they don't forget crucial info. Send an immediate reply back to the end user with a link to the customer portal or a custom form, whatever you've created, so that they can go the right path. And that's just a handful of examples. For the purpose of triage and first response time milestones, you can use any of this to improve on it. So enough talk, let's have a look at getting this going. So we start from the Tribune website. You might have received a link for a direct invitation to join in with the AI classifier. You can just follow that through. It should take you through to the same link, but from here you can go to login. And if you don't already have an account, you'll want to sign up. So from here you can just put in your details. And we capture a little bit of the basics here just so we know how best to help you. And I am in Australia, so I get to go right to the bottom. A very secure password. And get started. You will have to check your email. You will receive a confirmation, and then from there you can come back to here to log in. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Alright, once you're all logged in, I'll get you to go straight to onboarding. You'll need to set up your API user in whichever ticketing system you use. If you click on setup, you'll see that we've got 3 pre-built. We do have a generic one coming in shortly, But for now, I'm just going to set this up under auto task. You can put in your API user credentials. You will find Tribue in the auto task platform. And this one here needs to be our old sandbox. Once you've got this successfully verified, you can hit submit. Happy days. So from here, a lot of these other settings actually relate to our Teams integration. If you want to use that, you can. You can also subscribe to that. Then we have the Teams bot and all sorts of stuff to go alongside that, but you don't have to use that. From here, I'm going to get you to go to subscriptions on the top right and say I would like to subscribe to the Classifier. You'll notice that we do have pricing. There is a trial period. To be honest, the 30 days, it's really for as long as it's in beta while we work out the best use case for this and to help you guys and get some feedback from it. So subscribe to Classifier. This will take you through to a payment screen. You can put your credit card details in now if you like. Otherwise you can come back to it later on. You can just skip through and say, well, I want to go now to the Classifier, which is here on the left. I'm going to say import from PSA. As I say, if you don't have Autotask, ConnectWise or Halo, you can do the manual upload as well. So the base language, we do have a few different languages in play at the moment. We'll go with English. I'm going to hit submit, and that is essentially it from that perspective. It will cycle through this, and this can take anywhere from 4 hours up to 24 hours. It does depend on how many tickets you've got. This page doesn't auto refresh. You can come back to it at any time to check it, but it will eventually say it's complete. You'll see how many tickets it was actually able to get, and of those records from your tickets, it'll have it cleaned. Clean just means which ones actually have a description, how many have issue and sub-issue type labels against them, basically how much was it able to use for training purposes. And then from there you can start to use the Classifier. Now if you are a Autotask user, you will need to create the workflow rule, and we'll go through that in a moment. For ConnectWise, it is a built-in automation, but you can of course modify things in that space, but for ConnectWise it's just a click and go, and a similar story for Halo. We have that all built in as well. But we'll have a quick look at the Autotask setup, and that will give everybody else a bit of an idea of what sort of workflow needs to be put in place. Alright, so we're looking at Autotask and the setup with the AI ticket classifier. For ConnectWise and Halo, you have some automations in place that will create these rules for you, which makes life easier, but Autotask doesn't have that in play with their API as yet. So I'm going to walk you through those steps. There's a few steps that you'll need to do if you don't already have our Teams integration. If you do have our Teams integration, then there's really nothing more for you to do. But if you're brand new with Tribue, what you'll need to do is go to the hamburger. We need to create a user-defined field first. So we'll go to Features and Settings, Application-wide, User-defined fields. So we're really just making a custom field. We're going to go to Tickets. You'll click on New if you don't already have this in place. And really all you need to do is just create a name, Tribue, and the field type is text single line. That is it. Just save and close, and you'll have yourself a brand new custom field, or user-defined field as they call it in Autotask. So from here we then want to go back to Admin, Extensions and Integrations, Other Extension Ticket Callouts. You can ignore all these. This is our playground. Here really what you want to do is create this top one here, so you'll click on New Extension Callout. We'll ignore the autofill from Chrome. You do not need authentication at all. You just need a name, a URL, and that is https, and then vendor.tribue.ai/callback/autotask. You'll get that online as well in our knowledge base if you need it. Set the ticket user-defined field to Tribute. You'll get that in the drop-down there. That's what we created just before. And scroll down and you'll see it's a post method XML RPC. You don't need to worry about any of the other tabs here. You can just save and close from there, and that's it. So that is the notification that pushes from Autotask whenever the event triggers, and it knows where to send that event notification to. So that's that side of it done. Now we can go over to admin and automation. You've probably done some automations in the past. So we're going to go to workflow rules. I'll walk you through it regardless. I'm sure I clicked on that. Thank you, Autotask. So the first one that you want to do is the new ticket notification. Tribute needs to know when a new ticket has come in so that it can classify it. And that's essentially what that extension call out was for. So we've created one here before. You'll end up clicking new. I'll go ahead and edit this and you can see all the fields that we've got in play. So you're going to give it a real name, fairly obvious. Give it a description if you like, if you want to detail out what this one's for. The event is created by anyone. We can refine the conditions down in a second, and then we do that under here, conditions. So the queue name, depending on what queues you've got, like I could have selected triage if I wanted. I'll keep it on level 1, basically wherever your emails come into by default. Whatever the default queue is when you receive an email-based IT support request. You just want it to be focused in on that. The reason being is things like monitoring alerts. If you've got RMM generated tickets, they probably go through to a separate queue. And in that case, you don't necessarily need to classify it because an RMM based ticket, it has known values. You've probably already set rules around what that looks like. Don't need to classify it again. You can, of course, if you want to send it through to our classifier, it will learn that. If you want to use ours, otherwise you can just use the embedded sort of integrations that exist there. So with that condition met, you can set other ones as well, unassigned, new, things like that. But typically this is as soon as the ticket comes in, we need to know about it to classify it. You want to update this UDF that we created before. So in the drop down, scroll down till you find UDF Tribute and just type in new ticket. This just signifies to us that, hey, this is a new ticket scenario and to apply the classifier to it. And last step is to then go down to actions, execute extension callout Tribute. And that essentially just sends this new ticket notification through to our endpoint to let us know that we need to classify it. It gives us the ticket number and everything like that so that we can push back into it. You can go ahead and save and close. And that's it. That will start classifying tickets straight away for you. There's nothing more for you to do. There's no training overhead, there's no change in process necessarily for the team, but where the real benefits of automation come into play is how you want to leverage those classifications being predicted for you. So to give an example, I'll click on new. We're going to go with, well, let's say a new user request. So I'm going to say new user request, and let's use the scenario that you've actually got a client portal or some sort of custom form that you want your users to actually fill out for a new user request. They shouldn't be emailing that through with a name and missing half the details that they usually do. Instead, you've got a specific client portal that they should use for new user requests. So new user request, wrong process. Just to show that, hey, this is the workflow that triggers when somebody goes the wrong process for a new user. You can put some details in the description if you like. Now we're going to say edited by, because this is actually being triggered after Tribute has classified the ticket. So the ticket exists already. We're not creating the ticket. The trigger is the ticket has been edited by the Tribute resource. And then we'll go down. The condition is the sub-issue, which includes the issue type. You'll see it here. Let's call this, we'll scroll down, this is the default sandbox looking stuff. We'll call it onboarding activate. They've come in via this method, and we also want to exclude, if I say the source is not equal to the client portal. So this rule will only run, this automation will only run if the user has created or requested a new user via anything other than the client portal. So from here, we could, if we wanted to, and this is something that I've done in the past, you can set the status to complete, which might sound a little bit crazy, but you'll understand where we're going shortly. Essentially, the user's gone through the wrong process. This ticket should never have been created this way. So I'm going to close this ticket. It's no good just closing the ticket without telling the customer. That's not going to be anything happy for them. We don't need to worry about actions. We don't need to push this notification back to Tribu. It's done its job for this part. Instead, I'm now going to say notification. I'm going to notify the ticket creator. And if I wanted to, I could say the account manager for this customer, just in case they, want to go through a bit of training, whatever the case may be with them. But for now, I'll just say ticket creator. It's going to come from the support email address. I'm going to use a notification template. I haven't created it yet, but what you would do here in this sort of scenario, so we're going through a few different windows. I'm going to create a notification. New user request, wrong process followed. Give it extra details if you want. In this sort of scenario here, you can say a ticket created or edited. It just makes it easier to find. New user requested. Follow client portal process. That's pretty direct. You can be a bit friendlier than that, I guess. You can then go through ahead and format it. You can use the ticket details. Let's say show the contact, I think is what we want. Yep, ticket contact. You could say hi, ticket contact. Please use our client portal for new user requests. Get that out of the way. And then put in your own clients.demo, msp.com, whatever it is. To get there, maybe you've got a Microsoft form even, and it's a set form for this particular customer or for all customers in general, and you've got other workflow triggers off the back of that. That's where some real automation comes into play. Where we will close this ticket and action when the client portal is filled out, when client portal is completed. I'm being very direct and blunt there. You can be a bit nicer about it, of course. You can design it and everything through HTML. This is just for the example, we'll go through that. So you can say, well, I'm going to send from the help desk. If I wanted to CC in or do the test through here, you could as well. I think I've got everything in that. I will save and close. And from here, it's going to use this and that subject as well. If I wanted to, and I would recommend this just for keeping things neat, essentially you want to take that and append to resolution, and that will basically close the ticket immediately when it's been detected that they haven't created a new user through the correct method, and update the resolution field of that ticket so you can see why that ticket was closed very quickly. So I can go ahead and I think we've got everything in there now. Save and close. So that's just an example scenario of how you might use that classification. So that was the setup for the AI classifier and one example around how you might leverage that automation. There's plenty of other use cases that you could have for it, many that I can probably not think of. Every MSP is different. How you operate and what you want to do in this space, completely up to you, and it's what differentiates you in market. So we do have this knowledge base, the Discover portal, on the Tribu website. Encourage you to have a look through there, get some ideas, get some examples. We do have some articles on how to set up our Teams integration as well, if that's of interest, but you don't need the Teams integration to use our AI classifier and vice versa. But any questions, any feedback, particularly in these early days with the beta, would be amazing. Thank you very much.